So I'm going to give you a little hint about the story I'm about ready to tell you. Just think of a miracle that Jesus performed, okay? Just want to let you know, okay? So there was an evangelical preacher driving to New York, and he gets stopped for speeding in Connecticut. And the state trooper smells alcohol on the preacher's breath and then sees an empty wine bottle on the floor of the car. He says, "Sir, have you been drinking?" "Just water," says the preacher. The trooper says, "Then why do I smell wine?" And the preacher looked at the bottle and says, "Oh, sweet Jesus, he's done it again." Remember? Remember that miracle at the wedding of Cana? Okay. All right, just testing your Bible knowledge. So today we're beginning our second series on metaphysical masters because we have to give the men their due, right? All right, so the month of May, we had a 5-week series on women, and now we're going to have at least 4 weeks on the men, metaphysical masters. And just want to let you know, the reason I'm not including Charles Fillmore is that August is going to be Fillmore month. Yeah, so stay tuned. Both Charles and Myrtle have birthdays in August, so we're going to be having just a wonderful time in August celebrating the Fillmores. So we'll be featuring Dr. Paul Hesselbeck and also Eileen Gore again next week, and both of them have been my teachers in metaphysics. As you know, many of you know, Reverend Eileen was my mentoring minister, and she is a master in metaphysics. She's taught the 12 Powers and metaphysics online for years for the spiritual education and enrichment program as adjunct faculty. And Paul Hesselbeck has been the dean of SEE out at Unity Village. And he has done extensive research on Charles Fillmore and is just a brilliant mind. So I just am so excited to have them next Sunday. And we'll also be exploring, we'll be exploring Eric Butterworth today, and Ernest Holmes and Emmett Fox. So I'm just really excited about that. So okay, Eric Butterworth, as many of you know, he is one of my favorites. He was a renowned Unity minister, author, philosopher, visionary, innovator. He had a radio show for many years called Eric Butterworth Speaks that brought hundreds of thousands his message of the divinity of all people and the oneness that we share. People from various religious traditions have resonated with this message. If you'll remember, Dr. Maya Angelou said, "Eric Butterworth is my teacher." And Oprah Winfrey on her show said that Discover the Power Within You is her favorite book of all time. Pretty great. So he's been referred to as a 20th century Emerson. He is a spiritual icon in the New Thought movement. He really dedicated his life to supporting people on their spiritual journey to learn what he felt were truly Jesus' teachings about the divinity of humankind. And many of you know that I serve as adjunct faculty out at Unity Village twice a year. I've been doing it for 6 years, and that's why I went to Unity Village this week, as I got to celebrate the last class of ordinants and graduates from the Master of Divinity program. Everything's shifting out at Unity Village, and they're really working on creating a new program, and it's going to be wonderful. So as adjunct faculty, I wanted to go and celebrate them and also commemorate the 10-year program that I was a part of. Our class was the first class to graduate in that Master of Divinity program. And I have had the privilege of teaching one class for 6 years. Boy, I better have it down by now. That's all I got to say, is Discover the Power Within You. And I can't wait to teach it at SEE Week. So if you haven't signed up, you might want to sign up. So I wanted to share with you a little bit of why Discover the Power Within You has been so important to me. When I came into Unity, I came from a Baptist background, y'all, a Southern Baptist background, and I had many questions. I knew that that particular tradition no longer worked for me. It's not bad, it's not wrong, it just no longer resonated with me and where I was going. But I still had those questions. I had those questions about, how does Unity look at the Bible? How does Unity look at Jesus and sin? and salvation and being born again and all those things that I used to hear so much about in the Baptist tradition. And I got to tell you, reading that book answered those questions for me. He really addresses all of them so beautifully. And again, Eric Butterworth was really clear that in the Christian tradition, we have just missed the mark about the teachings of Jesus. See, he feels like we've missed the mark because what we've ended up doing is we've been making it about Jesus. See? And so in that, we've lost Jesus' core teaching that, again, is the divinity of humankind. I didn't hear that when I was growing up. I did not hear that. So Jesus is divine, but guess what? We are too. That the same nature that Jesus is what we are. And that he discovered it, and we can too. But darn, why does it seem to be so hard? So I have a story, and you might have heard it before, but I wanted to re-presence it with you because I think it has such great value. That is in the prologue of Discover the Power Within You. And here's the story. According to an old Hindu legend, there was a time when all people were gods. But they so abused their divinity that Brahma, the chief god, decided to take it away from the people and hide it where they would never find it again. Where to hide it became the big question. When the lesser gods were called to council to consider this question, they said, "We will bury the human's divinity deep in the earth." But Brahma said, "No, that will not do, for the human will dig deep down into the earth and find it." Then they said, "Well, we will sink the human's divinity into the deepest ocean." But again, Brahma replied, "No, not there. They will learn to dive into the deepest waters. We'll search out the ocean bed, and we'll find it." Then the lesser gods said, "We will take it to the highest mountain, and there hide it." But again, Brahma replied, "No, for the humans will eventually climb every high mountain on earth. They will be sure someday to find it and take it up again for themselves." Then the lesser gods gave up and concluded, "We do not know where to hide it, for it seems there is no place on earth or in the sea that humans will not eventually reach." The Brahmas said, "This is what we will do with their divinity. We will hide it deep down in each human, for they will never think to look there." Ever since then, the legend concludes humanity has been going up and down the earth, climbing, digging, diving, exploring, searching for something that is already what they are. So there you have it, in case you were wondering what happened. So, the first 3 chapters of Discover the Power Within You, Eric Butterworth lays the foundation of this journey that we're on, it seems. The Eternal Quest, that's the name of the first chapter, is the Eternal Quest. Because it seems like we're all searching for something. We're all seeking something. We're on this quest to know the truth, whatever that is. And guess what? What he shares with us is, we are that which we are seeking. The greatest discovery is not out there or out here. It's right here. The answers are not out here. They're right here. There's no place to get to because we're already there. There's no place to go. We're already there. How does that resonate with you? Yeah. And then he talks about the great discovery. What is the great discovery? So we're on this quest, and we're looking to find something. What is it that we want to discover? And here's a quote. Jesus discovered his own divinity, his unique relationship with the infinite. He discovered that he could open doors into inexhaustible mind, find renewed creativity, a flow of powerful ideas, a perception beyond the comprehension of the Adam man of his day or ours. He knew that what was true of him must be potentially true of all. So let me explain a couple of things metaphysically in that quote. The Adam man that he makes reference to is metaphysically when we are in our sense consciousness, when we have forgotten what we are, and we let that run us, okay? And when he talks about the potential of what's true, the potential is only in the expression and the claiming of our divinity, folks. It's not we're potentially the Christ, potentially divine. No, you are divine, period. You are the Christ, period. The potential comes in, and how willing are we to claim that and to express that and to live that? That's where the potential is. And that potential is unlimited for each of us. And what he cautions us is that we get to let go of our tendency to worship Jesus because we think he's the one that got it right. And he did. But when he becomes the object of worship, he ceases to be the way shower for our own self-realization and self-unfoldment. He is out there. And remember, there's no place to go. So in case you were wondering why I do not call this a worship service, that's why. See, just these little tweaks in language, but they have profound meaning. Because if we are worshiping something, we are not that something. You get that? Okay. So for many of us, saying yes to this journey, this discovering, has meant a journey of a lot of sharp turns, trust falls, and feeling like we're climbing a mountain, right? Can anybody relate? Can it sometimes feel hard to feel like we want to discover and really know the truth of what we are? So here's another story. There was a traveler in ancient Greece who was lost and seeking to find his way. And he stopped to ask directions of a man by the roadside that just happened to be Socrates. And the traveler asked him, "How can I reach Mount Olympus?" You probably heard this, haven't you? Socrates clearly replied, "Just make every step you take go in that direction." Yeah. So when we're feeling like this great discovery, that we hear it every week, that we're divine, that we're whole, that we're magnificence, we're divine essence. Wow. And it can feel like we're climbing Mount Olympus sometimes to really know that and to really claim it. But just make every step go in that direction. Yes. Steps like taking an SEE class, coming here on Sunday morning, serving, giving, stretching yourself. And so chapter 3 is called The Great Decision. And the great decision is when we say, okay, I'm in. Like the hokey pokey. I step in, put my whole self in, and I say yes to being on this journey consciously. That's the great decision. And folks, I tell you, when we make that decision, it's amazing the adventure that unfolds. When we surrender, because we have to let go. We have to be willing. It's a great decision because, folks, all of us have come from a birth family. All of us have come from a conditioning environment where we probably were not told how magnificent we are every single day. Maybe your birth family did affirm that for you, but maybe somebody else didn't. And so that great decision calls us into standing clear and being willing just to do our work. Because there's some unconscious patterns that are at work in our life. And so the great decision is, I say yes to doing my inner work, to supporting myself, to being gentle with myself, to being a part of sacred community that's going to support me, to taking classes, to just feeding myself. That's part of saying yes and making that great decision. So, this week, I'm going to ask you to just consider taking an SEE class. It's my big commercial. Yeah. You know, it's a real privilege for us to offer SEE in the field. That's what we call it. And I don't know if you know that Unity of Gaithersburg is renowned in the Unity movement for offering classes. We were on the leading edge of offering them so many, many years ago. And I've shared with you that on my journey to be a licensed teacher and minister, I took classes here at Unity of Gaithersburg in the 90s. I've loved this community for years. So I just want to support you in saying yes to your journey and to allow yourself to be supported by spiritual community, allow yourself to be supported by the activities of spiritual community as you make that great discovery and that great decision. And there was so much more I had this morning, but I'm just going to leave it at that. So, let's say yes together. Let's support each other on this journey to discover the power that we are. Because Eric Butterworth says, why would we bother? Well, he said, what's available to us is freedom and abundant living. I'd say yes to that. Would you? Yeah, freedom and abundant living. Freedom is the basis of all life. So, let's affirm the truth together. Each day, I know more deeply, claim more fully, and express more confidently the divine power I am. My life is filled with freedom and abundant living. Yes, it is. Yes, it is.